Session will be start very soon. Okay. A very good afternoon, all participants. On behalf of the School of Arts, Science and Commerce and Internal Quality Assurance Cell, Rai University, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, I Pradeep Kumar Singh, Head Department of Science, welcoming to all you on 3 days faculty development program. I hope and pray that all is good with you and your family during this difficulty time as the global COVID-19 pandemic is still peaking around many countries. I hope and pray that all is good with you and your family during this difficult time as the global COVID-19 pandemic. Before starting of FDB program, I am going to share basic information about the School of Arts, Science and Commerce. The main vision of this school is to provide quality education to all class of the society. School of Arts, Science and Commerce offering number of courses in undergraduate and postgraduate like physics, chemistry, mathematics, data science, information technology, BCom, BCA, psychology, English, BSW, MSW, etc. and also doctorate degree in various courses. I am pleased to share that we have received overwhelming response across our nation. This FDP program will help the faculty member to build the curriculum enabling students more employable and also empower the faculty member to design the curriculum to meet present needs of society. Without taking so much time, I am inviting Professor Viren Singh Nagoria, Deputy Registrar, Academic University, and our today's speaker.
Very good afternoon to everybody over here. Myself, Virendra Singh Nagoria. I'm taking care of academics and internal quality assurance cell. And speaking about the need to come up with the topic, the faculty development program on objective-based education, OBE, outcome-based education. This has taken, it is now very widely used. It is used across the world. It has been developed in order to make education simple and to provide institution a way to measure their learning outcomes and enable students to develop new skills. I am very happy that School of Art, Science and Commerce and Internal Quality Assurance Cell at Rai University has given a thought about it, and they come up with the idea to develop faculties to develop their understanding about the topic and help them inculcate all these things in their day-to-day academics. I extend a very warm welcome on behalf of Rai University to Professor Ajay Bhagwat. He is an EdTech expert of technologies for academic quality assurance, competency-based medical education, that is CBME, outcome-based education, and of technologies to automate accreditation management of ABET, AACSB, NBA, NAC accreditation. He is a passionate computer and mechanical engineer and has 35 plus years of professional experience. He is dedicated to maintaining a reputation built on quality, service, and uncompromised ethics. He manages product engineering, market and business development and delivery for imports in India for implementation of their state-of-the-art cloud-based technology platform for state and private universities, B schools, engineering colleges, and corporate training divisions. I'm very sure that with the kind of expertise that Mr. Ajay Bhagwat is having, it will help us understand the topic in detail, and it will provide a way to all the faculties to think about the topic and help them come up with a better preparation about outcome-based education and learn about it. So I think that would be, I would request Professor Pradeep to begin the session along with Professor Ajay Bhagwat. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Professor Let me know when I should start the session. Professor Dr. Pradeep, let me know when should I start the session. Is everything set?
Uh, Ajay sir,
Hello, Professor Pradeep.
yes sir, you can start the session, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. So thank you for this warm welcome, and I'm really happy to be part of this faculty development program on outcome-based education. So I appreciate that you have invited me, and that provided me this opportunity to share my experience of product development in the field of higher education, and that too in the field of outcomes-based education. So this presentation that I have created for this 3-day FDP program is based on three major, distinct topics of outcomes-based education. For the as you know, we are going to start with the first of all, we will discuss the fundamentals of outcomes-based education, and then progressively we will go towards in the next couple of days we will go to the advanced topics of outcomes-based education, and then we will touch upon the topic of using this analytics for identifying and opportunities to improve the process of academics, and then carry out and implement continuous improvement. So that's the overall goal of this FDP. Uh, there will be ample opportunities for everybody to ask questions, and I'm sure that Professor Pradeep will be able to help me know those questions, and I will address those as and when the time permits during these sessions. So since these sessions are 1 hour base 1 hour sessions, we will definitely I will plan the delivery of these presentations accordingly, and I would request Professor Pradeep to keep me alerted about the time that is in hand on each day. So thank you, welcome, and let me begin this presentation. This is the agenda of the day, to discuss about why is outcome based education important, what are the program outcomes, and how a top down design of the program is associated with outcomes based education in general. And we will also discuss what the course outcomes are and how to design these course outcomes. These are very fundamental, top level building blocks of outcomes based education. And from here onwards, we essentially go towards advanced topics of how to measure the outcomes attainment, program outcome attainment, how to analyze and identify weaker students, and carry out the continuous improvement activities. So these are the four first building blocks of the final goal that we have to achieve. And prior to going ahead, I would like this some unlearning to happen, and then some learning to happen. Because this is very fundamental conceptual correction that is required. Otherwise, it becomes difficult to understand the core concepts of outcome-based education. In OBE, which is a acronym for outcome-based education, uses program as the term for undergraduate program of BSc, BCom, BA, BBA, BTech. Right? These are the undergraduation programs, UG programs, or there could be PG programs, and these are called as programs and not the course. We may be calling those as a course, because it is colloquially or generally so far we have been calling these undergraduate programs as courses. But when it comes to OBE terminology, please unlearn that and start calling a course, as a program here onwards, because the course in OBE terminology is a course such as corporate tracks, economics, business law, microeconomics, financial management. So these are the courses in a program of undergraduate program of BCom, for example. And when I refer to course outcome, these are the outcomes at the level of the courses like corporate tracks or economics. When I refer to program outcomes, those are the outcomes at the level of BSc, BCom, BA, BBA, or BTech. And that's the fundamental difference. And that changes a lot in terms of how the outcome-based education is implemented, how the outcomes are analyzed. Rather, first of all, how the outcomes are designed. So this conceptual shift is required before we move on. Outcomes are of the education is what the student should be able to do at the end of the program or a course or at the level of instruction unit. So our curriculum or syllabus is divided into 5 to 6 units, and that forms a textbook for a subject or a course. And you may want to design outcomes even at the unit level. Many advanced users of OBE do this, and they measure the unit level outcomes also independently, and then they arrive at the course level outcomes. But it is not mandatory. You may start outcomes designing at the level of the course itself, but those have to be measured. And the program level outcomes are also independently designed, and those are at the top level, and then those have to be linked with the course outcomes, and then course outcomes have to be linked with instruction unit level outcomes if you also want to design unit level outcomes. But at every stage it is essential that you measure and analyze those. Why? Because outcome-based education is an approach to education in which decisions about the curriculum are driven by exit learning outcomes that the student should display at the end of the program or a course. So when it comes to taking some decisions, for that there has to be data, there has to be some analysis done, and this analysis should show us some glaring hotspots, some problem areas, or some improvements that have happened over a period of time. So these analysis also should reflect that certain actions taken by you in the past are improving the situation, and that is also a feedback to be collected, so that similar model or approach which helped you to improve certain things could be implemented in other parts of the process. So to draw such conclusions, analogies, the outcomes have to be continuously measured. So and based on this data driven analysis, the decisions could be taken, and those could be about the curriculum. And the curriculum is a broader term because it involves the process of course program designing, course designing. It comes to even the instructional designing, how to assess the student, how to frame the questions, how to conduct the assessments. All such teaching processes can come in picture, as well as learning processes also come in picture, and based on that the curriculum level decisions could be taken. Fundamentally and most importantly, OBE is about continuous improvement of outcomes, and that's the most important part of it. In fact, everything that we do in OBE is for driving the continuous improvement of outcomes, and that's why outcomes have to be measurable. So let's focus on continuous improvement now. and I'm going to refer the program level outcomes because I want this discussion to go from top to the bottom level of the OB structure, and the topmost level is outcome program level outcomes, because those are the outcomes students should display, exhibit when they finish their education in the college. So this is the student who is taking he's learning after taking the admission, and when the student is graduated, the student is exhibiting some outcomes which are primarily divided into knowledge, skill, and attitude. The acronym used for these three terms is KSA, which is more commonly used acronym when it comes to defining program level outcomes. So the graduating student, the graduated student, um, should exhibit the attainment of the program level outcomes, which are divided into these three categories of outcomes: knowledge, skill, and behavior. Attitude, it is sometimes also called as behavior. You may find me at times calling it as behavior because I'm kind of used to call it interchangeably attitude and behavior, but I mean the same. And these cases are essentially to be delivered by the institute by, by virtue of the teaching process, for the students to be able to take a job in the industry, or go for higher education, or to become self-employed. And for all the three important goals in the students life, which the students may want to go for either of these three areas after they finish the graduation. They may want to just become socially respected person also by completing some graduation level. That's also could be only goal of a person. But finally, it is about the social status that the student is trying to achieve, and for to be able to live the life meaningfully and respectfully uh, after finishing the graduation. And that's the reason, even that could be also a goal of a student. But finally, at the end of the day, uh, the most commonly you know applicable goal for the student is either get a job, or go for higher education, or essentially become a self-employed person. In what is happening, if you look at the main core process that is happening inside an institution, is teaching and the learning. Teacher is teaching, student is learning, and anything that is identified as a gap in the cases is focusing on primarily on the teaching and the learning process. If it comes to student, it is obviously the learning process that is being reflected here when we start identifying the gaps in cases. So how is this gap identified? When we think about the number of students graduating from the institution every academic year, then if this number is, let's say, 500, if we think about how many students who are graduating this year are said to have achieved certain level of these program level outcomes, the measurement of the attainment of their uh, the outcomes of the program level by every student, this level cannot be binary. It can't be 0 or 1, because the outcomes cannot be measured in that manner. So there could be some degree of the achievement by every student, and this could be a wide rubric that may be applied for every program outcome. Let's say that there are 12 program outcomes which are divided into knowledge, skill, and attitude category. Let's say there are four program outcomes each, for example, and in these categories. And we want to know measure how many of these students have been achieving this. What scale we would use for the measurement. I, as I mentioned, it can't be binary. There will have to be some rubric based on which we may have to say that these students are falling into these, they are fulfilling these criterias and not fulfilling these criterias, and that's why this student is in this particular category of the rubric. And then when you inspect the achievements of the students with respect to the outcomes, you may then be able to sort them out into these various categories defined in the rubric, and then finally you may uh, get a picture of how many students fall into each of these category, and that's the measure of outcomes achievement by the students graduating in that particular academic year. And obviously the goal of the improvement would be to move the students to from the lowermost category of the rubric to the highermost category. So that's the goal, and it could be practical goal. Obviously you can't expect 100% of the students to be in the highest category of the rubric. Obviously it's not the goal. The goal has to be measurable and practical, real, and based on that you may want to have some targets based on these percent of the students in falling into each category. So that's the way the analysis is done by institutions when they implement outcome based education. This the what we discussed just now can be extended further to the teaching learning process, and the reason is because the gaps in the outcomes are primarily found in either in the teaching process or in the learning process, right? And the main the here the two actors who are constantly playing a role in this process is the teacher and the student here. And then we have to focus on what each of these actors is doing here in this process, because the whole limelight comes on to these two actors. And when it comes to identifying the gaps, we will always find it in this one of these two processes that are happening, teaching and the learning. But when the teacher enters into a classroom, the teacher is not an independent independent person that is carrying out the teaching process. If he or she is a representative of the entire set of processes that are employed by the educational institution. And it has got, as you know, if when I start teaching something in the classroom, the content or the syllabus or the curriculum has all many decisions and the processes associated with these the final design of the book that is in my hand for teaching something to the students. It does this content that the teacher is dealing has to be current, useful, associated with the outcomes at the program level, and every course that is being taught has to have some meaning, some it has to have some association with the program outcomes. Otherwise this course doesn't have any meaning there to be there if it is not helping the students to achieve any outcomes. That's why teacher is a representative of this whole process. It's not an individual teacher who is responsible for the entire teaching process, right? We know that. Uh, but when it comes to students, obviously individual student is responsible, and because he or she is at the receiving end of this whole set of processes, right? It's a funnel, and at the end, the delivery of the teaching process is done by the teacher, but receiver is only individual student. And that's why we have to focus very in detail into what is teacher doing and what the student is doing. If you look at very closely what teacher is doing, it regardless of what course the teacher is teaching, fundamentally teacher is delivering knowledge, and this knowledge is can be uh, divided into these four categories of the knowledge, which is factual knowledge, conceptual knowledge, procedural knowledge, or metacognitive knowledge. uh, you can also actually you look at the the description given here for each of these knowledge dimensions. Factual is a knowledge of terminology, the way we discussed about KSA, program outcomes, what is outcome based education. This is all knowledge of terminology. What should be the course, what is a program in the domain of outcome based education, what is a course in the domain of the outcome based education. This is the knowledge of the terminology, factual knowledge. Conceptual knowledge represents theories, models, structures, and procedural knowledge represents knowledge of specific subject skills or algorithms. And metacognitive is about self assessment. Obviously, it is these are they're very brief descriptions of each one of these knowledge levels. They are very deep description of each of these term could be found by later on after this session. You can independently study more about this, but you can for the for the purpose of today's session, please keep this in mind. So coming back to the dimension of the knowledge, it is factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. You may independently take a look at the course that you are teaching and apply these four categories of the knowledge and see where you are. I mean, where your course is in terms of delivering these four knowledge dimensions. Metacognitive per se itself is not a knowledge to be delivered as a a subject itself, but is there, is sprinkled everywhere. It's about developing the ability in the students, about to be more emotionally intelligent, be becoming a team player, or like be able to identify the what gaps are in my understanding. And that's about self assessment. It is very important ability of a person to become lifelong learner. It is because unless and until I know what I don't know, I will not be able to take any efforts to learn more about it. So if we are framing a question like tell me what do you know about this, uh, the tendency of the student will be to think about what he or she knows about something. But if we are reframe this question to tell me what you don't know about this, then the immediately the thought process changes, and uh, that is about creating this ability of self assessment. That's the metacognitive knowledge level that we deliver as a teacher. It's not about the specific subject level knowledge. It's about emotional being emotionally intelligent. That's about the attitude development of a student towards anything, about the program outcomes to be achieved. It's not a general kind of emotional intelligence we are talking about here. It is specific to the program that student is in, and developing a person who is emotionally intelligent, being able to work with others, being able to uh, a team player, in other words, being able to lead himself or herself and others also. These are the kind of abilities and capabilities when the teacher delivers and teacher teaches, and students have to learn, understand these aspects of behavioral change that occurs during the education process. And then when it comes to student, it is their learning goes through these fundamental six steps, which are also called as famously known as Bloom's taxonomy levels. But fundamentally, this is a process that applies to any human being. When something new is learned, it starts with remembering something. Then once we it's a dot of the knowledge that is learned by us. It's an independent dot. We yet don't know how it has to be. It could be related with something else I know already. And then the moment we strike that, oh, this is what it is, this is how it is related with some other concept which I have learned, and that creates understanding. It's like connecting two dots. And then when we learn how, applying that, we reach to the third level. Then with that knowledge, we start looking here and there and start analyzing the things around us, because that we have done something. We have already learned quite a few things about it, and now we can start analyzing few other problem also, using this the model that we have learned. And evaluation of somebody else already has analyzed something, and then now we are given 10 different analysis, and we are able to now evaluate which model is correct, which is not correct, what is the effectiveness are. You may come up with a scale of 1 to 10, and being able to do, okay, this particular model is at level number 3, this is 7, this is perfect, and this is more applicable, this is more practical, right? And then that's the kind of evaluation. And creation means research and innovativeness. That's the final stage of reaching, obviously, this higher order thinking skills are required, and the research like activities are required for a person to be able to create something new. So that's the final level that the education research researchers say, that these are the 6 steps through which the student learns. And this is called as this is knowledge dimension, and this is called as cognitive process dimension. um, and as I mentioned, it is also famously called as Bloom's taxonomy levels. Cognitive process is, I have given the explanation of what cognition is. It is the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. Recalling could be something, just is being able to recall means remembering. Interpreting is understanding. Organizing, testing, producing, and constructing are the subsequent examples of these cognitive processes that happen in the process of learning. So now take a pause, and then look at this now once again, this dimension, this diagram in front of you. Teacher is teaching the knowledge, which could be factual, conceptual, procedural, and developing these abilities of metacognitive knowledge. And regardless of what the knowledge is, right, whether it's a factual knowledge or it is conceptual knowledge, it is like going to go through these 6 steps, remembering and going towards creating something. So that's uh, the first major concept that we discussed today. Now it's time for self-assessment. And this is the question. You may keep the answer ready and share with me later on, but try to find out what the 4 levels of knowledge are, whether the answer number 1, 2, 3, 4 is correct. Please identify that and keep it with you. I hope that you have assessed yourself, and then I'm going to the next concept that we have to learn. This is a very important concept we are going to discuss. This is the main source of main source of starting, or I would say it's a main baseline to start the process of continuous improvement. So now think of asking a question to a student. So you have taught something, and now you want to ask a question, and this question is at the factual level, let's say. So you want to find out, the purpose of asking a question is to find out gap in their cognition process. So here again, it's not a binary answer that you are expecting. The process of your assessment of whether the students are at the remember level or at the understand level or at the apply level is not binary. You still have a mental rubric in your mind when you evaluate an answer given by the student. I'm talking about a 5-mark question which has, let's say, 10 sentences are written by the student, because you have set the rule that answer in maximum 10 lines, let's say, sentences, and students have responded to your question, and there are, let's say, 60 mark sheets in front of you. You are ready reading each and every answer and then giving uh, assigning the marks 1, 0, 2, 4, 5, and you have a mental rubric which is unknowingly used by the teachers, but they know that why I should assign 5 marks here, why I should cut 1 mark, why should I cut 2 marks, why should I cut 4 marks. There are some reasons behind that. You're looking for something uh, in that answer, and that tells you that, okay, this is a good answer, this is the most ideal answer, and I should assign 5 marks because I see everything there. I see the student has used his or her own words, every all the required concepts are covered in the answer, and the student can also apply this in a different situation, and that is what I was expecting to happen. It's not this student who has just read something and what he has recalled everything, and word by word it is written there. So it's just a recalling process. So out of 60 students, you may find that 20 students have been able to just remember that, and out of them, maybe most of them, some of them have not even remembered everything, so they are really in the lowermost category of the rubric that you have. Some of them have showed that they have understood it, and some of them have really showed you that they have applied it. So out of the 60 students, you have this now in front of you, analysis of 60 students, and who is where, and that is nothing but identifying the gap in the cognition. So I may say that the outcome based education is already implemented by each and every teacher. There's nothing different here, and because you already have this mental rubric, you may have a kind of formally designed rubric in front of you, but many times it is not there. Many times teachers end up using the mental rubric, and then give the marks accordingly. So it is actually a very important foundational block of implementing outcome based education. What is missing in this process is analyzing the students in as a batch, and then identifying who is where, and whether the number of students that you are finding on the remember level, number of students you are finding on understand and on the apply level, are the number of students you are expecting to find, or you were expecting more number of students to be on the higher side, or what. And that is the analysis, that is something that is to be added in already the efforts that are being taken. And this analysis is nothing but a very firm step toward implementation of outcome based education, right? So that's what I wanted to express here, with the help of this uh, diagram or concept depiction. So the what I just showed you is that when you are evaluating where the students are on this scale of cognition, the factual knowledge you are evaluating, you may want the students to be at apply level at the most. You are not expecting them to be at analyze and evaluate level, because you are teaching factual knowledge. But when you are when you are teaching conceptual level knowledge, you may want them to go a little upwards, maybe up to analyze level. If you are teaching procedural level, you definitely want them to be at apply level minimum, and analyze and little more also you may want them to go, depending upon the program and the course, obviously. If the course is meant for very basic factual level knowledge, then you necessarily the evaluation process should end at maybe understand level. Most of them, the questions maybe be framed at level, or a few questions to be at apply level also. So that's the reason one has to find out the purpose of the course, how it is associated with the program outcomes, and how the students have to be evaluated, uh, on the scale of this Bloom's taxonomy or cognitive process, right? These are all interchangeable words or terms used to define, or to refer to a particular cognitive process here, which starts at remember, ends at creates. The next question is, teacher ask a question to, these are the four options, and this is a multiple answer question, multiple choice. Take a look at this, think about it, and you can note down the answers. Okay, thank you. I'm going ahead. What we just discussed, I'm going to just represent the same model here a little differently, so that it shows you the plan, do, check, act, like circular process, closed loop process. And here it begins at asking some questions which are part of your assessments, like direct and indirect assessments, formative or summative assessments. It could be co-curricular or extracurricular activities. And they all are designed, these activities, these assessments are designed for creating those abilities in the students which are defined at the program level. And that's how actually finally we can create those relationship right from the top at the program outcome level down to the framing a question. And part of that process we have discussed just a while ago, while discussing about teaching and learning and asking question and identifying where the students are on the scale of cognitive process. So we actually discussed about it, and then we try to understand why framing the right question and analyzing where the students are with the help of that either formally designed rubric or mental rubric is important. And that is this process of grading, in which this rubric is being applied by us. And then finally we use that rubric to identify the gaps in the outcomes, in the learning process, right? Outcomes, learning outcomes, cognitive process gaps is also about the learning. So we are trying to find out the gaps there, and which these gaps, by the way, reflect on the teaching process. Gaps, there could be some gaps in the teaching also, and those could be in the curriculum design, or it could be the way the instructions are delivered. There could be some gaps due to which they are constantly, batch after batch, same problem is being observed, batch after batch. So naturally something has to be done there, something has to change there. It may not be about the content itself, it may be just about the delivery of the content that needs to be changed. Or there could be some laboratory equipment that is missing because of some important concept is already always missed by the students. So it could be about that. And there could be something like constantly the market is changing, and the new requirements are emerging, new technologies are emerging, and then based on that the students have to learn uh, those new technology. Otherwise the job market is demanding, and the students are unable to exhibit those skills. Though some skill level programs are missing there always. And so that's the reason the outcomes, which are skill level outcomes, are constantly being shown as missing there, due to which the students are not able to get a job in the specific technology domains. And that will reflect on curriculum design, we know that. So this is the way the gaps could be identified. And finally it should then reflect back to the questions that are being asked. So that because the questions are being asked not to just qualify whether the student has been crossing the 50% mark to be called as passed or failed. That's the academic different academic decision which is required, which is important for some other reasons. But when it comes to OBE, analysis of outcomes, this the pass and fail decision is not important here. Here, the decision about either the it's here it is about identifying the weaker students, identifying the weaker areas, hotspots, and then driving the continuous improvement. And that is about it. Moving more and more toward the higher side of the spectrum is what is expected here to happen. This brings us to the discussion of POs and the POSO's classification and its relationship with what we learned so far in terms of teaching and the learning process. We discussed about factual and conceptual knowledge, and these two levels of the knowledge are fundamentals, foundational building blocks to any program, because the courses which teach factual and conceptual knowledge to the students help the student to understand some advanced level concepts which are taught later on during the process of graduation. Maybe in the third, fourth semester, some advanced level courses are there. In the fourth and fifth and sixth semester, or further than the the accumulation of all the foundational knowledge and some advanced level knowledge is to be applied into a project, right? So we take them from very foundational level to the application level, and that's the process, right, through which the students are taken. And while this is being done, we are also teaching them some attitude level, kind of requirements of the program, which could be called as being able to work in the team, and becoming more emotionally intelligent about the things happening around during the learning. So that's about the attitude. And so we can definitely say that factual conceptual could be related with knowledge category of the POs. We can say procedural knowledge could be related with the skill part of the program outcomes, and metacognitive knowledge could be related with attitude. And the combination of these three things could be called as competence. And what is competence? The habitual and the judicious use of following aspect in daily practice for the benefit of the individual and the community being served uh, are here: communication, knowledge, technical skills, reasoning, emotion, values, and reflection. This could be it's a combination of you can see, you can relate that knowledge could be factual, conceptual, technical skills means a procedural level um, outcomes that we are talking about, emotions, values, and reflection, they all related to attitude, emotional intelligence, self-assessment, and this combination of these three is called as competence. Examples, let's look at individual examples so that we can relate these concepts with some practical reused outcomes by some of the programs that I have come across with. So knowledge, it could be when you look at when you come across with a statement like this: understand the nature and the basic concepts of cell biology, biochemistry, taxonomy, and ecology. It could be categorized as a knowledge level program outcome, because factual and conceptual knowledge is covered by when you try to think about meeting the outcome like this. Application of mathematics, science, engineering fundamentals is also one of the knowledge level program outcome. Procedural or skill level program outcome, fostering analytic and critical thinking abilities for database decision making, modern tool usage, create, select, apply appropriate techniques, resources, modern engineering and IT tools. So this is about developing those skills to use modern tools. Naturally it belongs to skills. You require procedural knowledge, how to do something, some methods, skills, techniques. When we teach something like this, it is about developing the abilities to or rather I would say the meeting the requirements of skill level program outcomes. And when it comes to attitude level program outcomes, it could be about teaching some ethics, ethical requirements of the graduation program or post graduation program. What is expected when an engineer goes out? What is expected when a medical professional goes out of the institute? And these are the values the students should exhibit. Emotional intelligence students should exhibit, and that is sensitizing them on this real requirement is what is covered by the program level outcomes like this. Next question is to identify, what is the category of this PO statement that I have mentioned here. So this is, please read it and try to categorize it according to these three options given there. Next is this. And the third is this example. Thank you. To go to the next concept, we have around 15 to 20 minutes to go further. I'm pretty sure that we'll be able to finish the goals of this first session. So top-down approach of program design is a very important concept that we will discuss now. And what we have so far covered, let's quickly recall that. We started with defining what is outcomes, why outcome based education is important, and we discussed outcome based education is nothing but a method, a tool for driving the continuous improvement. Then we focused on teaching learning process. We talked about knowledge dimensions and cognitive process dimensions. Then we started relating it with the program level outcomes, how the knowledge dimensions are directly related with program level outcomes. That's what we tried to do. And we then attempted to relate the knowledge dimensions with the three categories of the program outcome, which are called as knowledge, skill, and attitude, KSA. And we attempted to relate those with the knowledge dimensions, because that's about the teaching process. And teaching is nothing but these four knowledge dimensions, and that's why the reflection of this has to be seen in the outcomes of the program. And that's why there is a direct relationship of knowledge dimensions with the outcomes, which are divided into three categories: knowledge, skill, and behavior. And whether the students are learning these outcomes, achieving the goals of achieving these outcomes, the scale on which the students' success is measured is one of the scale is this Bloom's taxonomy, which starts at remembering and ends at creating. And we need to find out where they are on this scale. So you may kind of rephrase this or keep this concept same, and you create your own rubric to find out where the students are and measure the outcomes. because measuring the outcomes cannot be binary. It will have to have some kind of rubric to define it correctly, and then find out how many students are in what the category, which category of this rubric belonging to each outcome. And that's about measuring the outcomes. So now that's a fundamental discussion, foundational level discussion that we finished before arriving at this concept. Because now we so far our focus was was at the teaching learning process, one particular course. We talked about why one question is asked, how to assess the students. So the focus area was very small there. Now to zoom out, think about the program now, complete program of 6 semesters or 8 semesters, and we have to think about 30 to 40 courses that are taught, delivered to the students by various teachers in their 2 years PG program, or 3 years UG program, or 4 years UG program. And then we have to zoom out now and stop at the level of uh, as if we're standing outside of the main gate of the institution, and then we're looking at the students coming out of the institute at the end of the graduation program, and we are looking at them, those 500 students coming out of it, and then thinking about what outcomes these students have achieved, and then what course in our undergraduation program has was there to deliver those outcomes to the students. That's the kind of top down view of the graduation UG program or PG program is needed here to discuss about these concepts of top down design. So here we start at the outcomes level at the program. Then we try to relate which courses are there to deliver the defined program outcome there. And then we go to the next level, which is course outcomes. Then we to go to the level of the assessments that are defined, created, designed for measuring the whether the students are achieving those outcomes. And obviously each assignment has questions, one or more questions, and these questions have to be mapped with Bloom's taxonomy. Why? It is because we have to assess the students assess the student with respect to the cognitive process at which the students are um, at the end of every knowledge delivery. So this is the hierarchical structure of a program design. So here the green shaded boxes are of the POs related to knowledge dimension, and the courses which are related with these green boxes are delivering factual and conceptual level knowledge. So the courses which are dual associated with multiple program outcomes, which maybe some of the course program outcomes are from knowledge category, some of them could be from skill category, and there could be many such courses, and they are I have shaded them with two different colors to represent that they have multiple associations with different program outcomes of different categories. So such courses are there to deliver conceptual and procedural level knowledge. So this uh, the degree of conceptual and procedural knowledge may vary. There could be more conceptual, less procedural, or less conceptual, more procedural. This could vary, and then depending upon that, this course may have multiple associations with those respective program outcomes. And the next category is of course outcomes, which are designed to measure whether the students are achieving those course level outcomes. And naturally, these course outcomes also should be targeted to see whether the students are learning those outcomes which are of a course which is delivering the respective level of the knowledge dimension, right? Either factual conceptual or plus procedural. So depending upon that, you will have to design the assessments, and these assessments have the questions which are related with uh, these levels of which are associated with these knowledge levels. So levels of cognitive process. I'm sorry. So you, as we discussed, remember, understand, and apply are the the levels at which you may want to assess the student when you are teaching a course which is related with knowledge level of the PO, because knowledge level PO means factual conceptual knowledge. So when it comes to factual conceptual, you may want to frame the questions which are related to remember, understand, and apply. Maybe more of remember, understand, less of apply, whichever way you have internally decided to frame the questions. But when it comes to the course number 2, which has got association with some skill level program outcome, naturally the reflection of that can be seen in the way the questions are being framed here. Since it is about procedural knowledge, there have to be questions about applying and analyzing the problem that is to be solved by the students here. So this is the way the whole hierarchical structure, right from the PO to a single question, can be done and interrelated. So unless and until this is possible only after you create this mind mapping of why this the course that I am teaching exists there, what PO it is supposed to meet, and then based on that, am I asking the questions, am I assessing the students to be at that particular level. So this is how this whole concept mapping could be done, which involves teaching learning process, which involves program outcomes to be met, which involves assessment of the students on the scale of this cognitive process. And different concepts that we learned could be brought together to design this program in this fashion. So there could be many affiliated colleges, and they may say that we don't have any control on this, it's given by the university. But still, as a process, to understand the process of the program design, you may still want to create this blueprint of the whole program and try to understand what thoughts have been given here to design this program in this manner. Can we draw some analogies, create some kind of relationships, design some relationships, identify these mappings that are expected to be there to implement outcome based education in the program design that you have currently implemented there. The question is, if a course has a dual association with POs from knowledge and skill categories, it is best described as this course is, and there are 4 options. Please select the right option, keep it, note it somewhere, and then we move on to the next concept to be covered today. Thank you. The next is course outcome designing. I have taken some references from Dr. N.J. Rao's slide here, and I thank you for him. Thank you him for this. So what is a course outcome? It is what the student should be able to do at the end of the course. So it's a subset of the program outcome to be achieved at the program level. Here, the student is supposed to learn this at the course level. It is an effective ability, including attributes, skills, and knowledge to successfully carry out some activity which is identified. And the most important aspect of the CO is what it should be is that it should be measurable. Uh, we have been bringing up this very frequently, that analysis means that it has something has to be measured, and that measurement is of outcomes. Measurement is assessing where the students are on the scale of cognitive process dimension. So this is possible only if we are measuring something. We are trying to collect the data, and this data collection will help in identifying the weaker students, hotspots, some actions that we can create out of it. So this is what exactly we could do now by clubbing these two scales in this manner: knowledge dimension and cognitive process dimension. And if we create this mesh here, and say that and then we relate this with the course that I'm teaching, for example, as a teacher. If I know that factual and conceptual knowledge is what I'm covering, then I have to identify, I have to imagine at what level I must assess the students at, whether it's understand level, apply level, analyze level. And based on that, I have to choose the right action verb here. This is example, just this is a very basic diagram in front of you, but you may study more to find out the right action verb. But this is the concept that you can apply there when you are looking for right keyword to design your course outcome. So this, if you are teaching, let's say, factual knowledge, and you want students to be only at remember level, then you may start the course outcome design statement with list, maybe. By the way, as you know, a course may have 5 to 6 course outcome statements to be designed, which are outcomes to be achieved by the students at the end of the course or at the end of every assessment cycle. In the first assessment, maybe you are covering only first CO, and you want to assess where the students are achieving that CO. So it's a progressively achieved course outcomes. And in the summative exams, you may cover let's say 3 or 4 course outcome related questions, and the end term exam you may cover the entire set of course outcomes. But these our outcomes are measurable, and so these statements have to be designed such a way that they reflect what the level of knowledge these students should achieve at the end of the course. And that's why we have to define the course outcome such a way that it reflects this understand this decision, that I want the students to be at remember level, I want the students to be at apply level, because I'm teaching conceptual knowledge. But if I'm teaching factual, I may still say that apply level, I want them to be at apply level. You may take the conceptual level to even analyze level. So it's about your decision, uh, uh, you know, of where you want the students to be assessed at, and based on that, this outcomes has to be designed, and based on the questions have to be designed, because the question is asked to measure where the students are, and the question is asked to measure whether or not the students are achieving those outcomes. It's a different perspective of looking at why a certain question is being asked, and this has to then reflect in the this 4 component technique of course outcome designing, which begins at action. And action is nothing but this verb that we discussed about: apply, classify, clarify. And that is a combination of these 2 dimensions that will give you the answer, what level, what should be the starting action verb. And then the part of the knowledge, factual, conceptual, procedural, metacognitive knowledge portion, that this is course specific. So this has to be picked up from the course that you are teaching, and that is the second part of your statement. The third is condition, and the fourth is criteria, which are optional, but the top 2 are extremely important 2 parts of the course outcome statement. So condition is that it is the process of the learner is expected to follow, or the condition under which it has to be performed. Use this particular, let's say, apparatus, and then you show me whether this is possible. But once this is shown by the student, you may still say that, okay, now you compare it with this standard, and then to tell me whether your results are in line with this known standard of solving this problem, or whatever the answer which you want the students to exhibit. So this is about designing of the course outcome statements, and I'm going to quickly show you some good samples, good examples of good COs and examples of badly designed COs. So this is the first example. Describe general taxonomic rules on animal classification, and this is how I see it is designed. Very good example from NAC manual. I have taken it. Second is this, and you can clearly see beautifully designed course outcome statement. Third is another extremely good example in which all the 4 components of the CO you can see. Now, these are some do's and don'ts. Take a look. Only use only one action verb. Don't make it vague, such as like, etc. It has to be very crystal clear, and it should be measurable, right? So it should not be abstract and vague. These are the examples of incorrectly designed outcomes. So students will execute mini projects. It seems to be a kind of an instruction, some activity the students are from. Then it's not a outcome at all. Will get knowledge of protection scheme. So again, this is something to do. It's showing that students will learn. So they will get transformed from a stage to another stage. But this itself is not a course outcome. Apply. Starting is good, but later on it becomes extremely vague. Problem solving to find solutions to problem. What solution? What problem is not defined at all. It's too general, and that's why it is incorrect. So that is the end of today's session. Dr. Pradeep, over to you, and then we will continue this tomorrow. For discuss some advanced level concepts in program design. Dr. Pradeep.
Sir, am I audible to you?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, we have some question from participants. What is the difference between instinct, experimental, and objective knowledge?
Come again, please.
What is the difference between instinct, experimental, and objective knowledge?
So you can actually very easily you can draw the analogies relationship of these 3 terms used here with factual, conceptual, procedural knowledge, right? Where experiential, or project-based activities could immediately be related with the procedural skill, right? And the activities in which you are not expecting the students to use some kind of model structures, analyze, go to the workshop and show whether a job could be cut on the lathe machine, or you don't want the students to design a program or design a system in which you are asking them to use the skills, to demonstrate where they are, and that's I think the same thing you can apply in these describing these three terms that are referred by you in this question.
Okay, sir. Thank you. And second question is there any restriction in the number of PO, PSOs, and CO?
You can look at it this way. There are three main categories: knowledge, skill, and behavior. There are many education researchers have defined graduate attributes, which are A to Q. Typically, I mean, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K are the number of graduate attributes defined internationally and accepted internationally. And these are typically taken as a reference point for designing your own set of program outcomes. So you can have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 program outcomes depending upon the complexity and the vastness of your graduating undergraduation program. And based on that, you can come out with your own list of program outcomes. So in my opinion, at the highest end, at the program outcome level, I have not come across with more than 15 program outcomes. So and I know that for 2 years post-graduation programs, I have seen that there are 6 to 7 program outcomes are defined maximum, and then couple of program-specific outcomes are expected to be designed by the program designers for post-graduation programs like these. When it comes to course outcomes, again, you can use the same model. Since PO program outcome and course outcomes are interrelated, associated with each other, if your course is related to, let's say, factual conceptual knowledge, that means you are covering most of the knowledge level program outcomes. And let's say you have 3 program outcomes which are falling into the category of knowledge. So you can imagine then how many course outcome you can have for your course. Maybe 4, 5, 6, not more than that. So this is how there is a logic to that. If you want to really think about how many number of program outcomes and course outcome you should have, you start at the graduate attribute level, which is the standard list of graduate attributes that any graduating student should exhibit. Find out, relate those graduating attributes with your program outcomes, and then relate where your course is, what program outcome category it serves, and then based on that you can find out how many course outcomes your course have. In my opinion, that's the best way to think about and find out the answer.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now I'm inviting Dr. Ashish Rami, sir, Director, Center for Research and Development, and Head Dry Business School, for giving thanks notes of today's session. Good afternoon,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah,
Good
good
afternoon.
afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Pradeep sir, for inviting me. Okay, first of all, I would like to thank you very much to Mr. Ajay Bhagwat, who is Director Imports India Pune, who has accepted our invitation to give a very insightful speech and insightful information about outcome-based education. I'm very much honored to say that you have given really very good information about program-specific outcomes, outcome-based education, and many attainment of PO analysis, metacognitive, etc. So these information are really very much helpful to all the educators, uh, all the directors of college or universities. This will be really very much helpful for the accreditation of institutes and universities. So on the very first day, I'm really grateful to you, sir. Uh,
Pleasure.
yeah,
It's my pleasure to be part of.
I hope that tomorrow and day after tomorrow will be also really very much informative.
Yes, I'm looking
Thank you.
forward to it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bhagwat, sir.
Bye bye. I may log off, right?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.